My brother Louie, growing up with him, we always knew he was a little different because my mom and dad were always talking about, he's doing this or that, hitchhiking across America. Basically, he was just a man on the move.
He always was like a comedian. He always wanted to be a performer. He always tended to be more boisterous or more expressive or dress a little more extravagantly than anybody else.
Friends would say, I was driving down 282 or this road or that road. I saw your brother there with the shirt wrapped around his head, waving at traffic. He was always had a plan. Things were always happening, and usually involved something that was going wrong, and he was solving it, or he had to be on the case.
So I would come home to my apartment, and he would have a line of objects throughout the apartment, which I didn't understand, but I had seen things like that in movies before, and I thought, well, this is not a normal thing people would do.
It's truly hard for a lot of people to understand it, but it's basically any type of emotional disorder, emotional difficulty that creates a problem in your life, whether it's socially, occupationally, academically. So that can run the gamut from, depression, post-traumatic stress, all the way up. So a mental health illness is something that significantly impairs an individual's life.
Brother Louis was diagnosed as bipolar, and he had been on medication for about 25 years since this time that he was first diagnosed.
He never stuck with his medications, and we believed that his medications were no longer having an effect on him. It's sad, and you want to help them. And you think that they can manage this, because my sister, I've always heard it's a manageable disease or affliction, but he never seemed to care. He would just go off on his little tangents or, trips, whatever, I don't know what you call it, just embrace it, basically.
A lot of people don't prioritize their mental health as a number one issue in their life, but to be emotionally healthy certainly spirals down to many areas in your life. If you had cancer, if you had diabetes, most people treat those. You need to do the same for any emotional issues, I believe, as well, to be a fully functioning, productive member of society.
He had gone downhill ever since he came home. And the stress level at the house, my father, my mother, everybody's just got this stress on them that, we're getting edgy and snap. He doesn't stop. He just doesn't ever stop. And that's the problem. Manic's a good thing if you can control it. Endless energy. I mean, he's doing crazy stuff. Moving giant logs or rocks, building things. It's kind of neat. If you walk through the woods, you'll see rocks that are like stacked up or arranged. It's neat. He did that, on a stretch of like being awake for a week.
Now, at that time, the laws in Ohio were such that unless you were a danger to yourself or others, there was nothing we could do about it. So we had to wait for a point in time that he was a danger.
He's got this little star, sheriff star, that means, it looks like it came from a gumball machine. Claims the sheriff bestowed it upon him as a sheriff's deputy, honorary deputy, and it's so small, but yet this. So he's walking down the road, a Corvette's going past him, and it's going fast, so he's like pointing at his little, and now if I was driving down the road and I saw somebody doing this, I wouldn't know what's going on. He's like, I've shown him the badge. So they just stepped on the gas or something, blew past him. So now he's dragging limbs and logs onto the road. This will slow him down, speed bumps. It's like, Louie, are you serious?
He had been arrested many times, and he seemed to understand that as long as he wasn't threatening anybody, they could not hold him. He was being more of a problem, and so he was always let loose. So he seemed to snag onto the laws. He seemed to understand the laws.
He's a lawman in his own mind, I guess. This is what it takes. This is what I can do. He's, always on the case, I guess, always helping out.
So he was always trying to help, and I think he was very easy to misinterpret, because to skip way ahead into the recent situation, he was arrested for theoretically attempting or threatening to bomb Kent State University. Now, this was after the day before he had been at my house trying to protect me from thieves and bombers. So he had never threatened anybody before. I think he was misinterpreted, but when people are rambling on and on and on, and you don't know what they're talking about or where they're coming from or who they are, things could be misinterpreted.
It was like a catch-22 for him, I guess. I always felt sorry for him because he's very intelligent, and that's the problem with that sort of person, because they outthink you. They're clever and crafty. He was. I can't believe they claim now he's normal. He's medications and stuff, and appalled at the way he acted. And I always told him, I said, how do we deal with you, Louie? When you're this way, what are we to do? You give in to him and you get taken for a ride. Or if you rebel against him, he blows up. There's it's a no-win for anybody.
To better themselves, they each individual has to see that their behavior impacts themselves and others. So they gotta have some acceptance of what it is that they have and the motivation to feel better. And in order to feel better, they have to manage those symptoms, and most people don't know how to do that. So they do need to come in and learn those techniques, unlearn dysfunctional behavior patterns, and relearn functional patterns in helping with mental illness.